and specifically with septic regulations. Of course, we can't have sewage dumped into the beautiful Guadalupe River that we all enjoy here. But it's also part of my role to be fair in the administration of the office, to respect you as the citizens and the taxpayers here of Kerr County, and also to work with you and to work with our private sector for development reasons to make sure that the laws and the rules are enforced, but they're enforced in a way that we can still allow people to live here and we can still allow development to occur according to the rules, but in a way that helps this community grow in a safe way for everybody to live.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions here that are directed specifically to one of the other candidates. We'll start with Ms. Bailey. Why do you think your experience, which equals short stints in various jobs during your long tenure, is better than a candidate who wants to serve in the same capacity and is this to be a stepping stone?
It's definitely not a stepping stone. I think I've proven that I'm committed to this community. I've been doing pretty much this work the whole 19 years we've lived here. We have no plans to be anywhere else or do anything else. I wouldn't call them relatively short stints, but I've had a lot of different experiences in various communities doing the same kind of work, so I have a broad spectrum of experience. I had the opportunity to be in a lot of communities because I would follow my husband around, who's a physician, and everywhere he'd go to have another position, I would go and be offered a job by the local prosecutors because they recognized my ability. I've tried literally hundreds, if not thousands, of criminal cases, and that is something that you just have to do before you really get good at it. I'm not aware whether or not my opponent has ever tried a single criminal case as a first chair. I would think that having an elected official who hasn't had the experience at all of doing the job that you're elected him to do might be a little bit problematic.
Question for Rob. In your campaign materials and website, you pledged to protect the unborn, protect the Second Amendment rights, and support border security. Why don't you tell these good folks here specifically how the county attorney can impact any of these areas?
I'm very proud of my values and my beliefs. I'm proud to be a Christian. I'm proud to be an active member of First United Methodist Church. I'm proud to be conservative in the beliefs that go along with it. I've been up front with my beliefs from the very beginning of my campaign because they are important for you to know who I am and where I come from. And so when I'm running as a conservative, when I tell you what I believe on all issues, I'm telling it because I want you to know what's in my heart and what's in the foundation of my beliefs. Those issues, protecting the unborn, protecting our borders, protecting private property rights, believing in the importance of the Second Amendment, are show who I am and tell you that when I make a decision on every issue that affects the county attorney's office, it's going to come from those worldviews and those beliefs and those values. So, for example, the county attorney's office may not specifically regulate one of those issues, but I think that it's important for you as the voter to know what's in my heart and what I believe, because that's where I will come from when I'm making the decisions on the many issues that affect the county attorney's office.
Okay, Ms. Bailey, explain the role that criminal plea bargains have in the criminal justice process.
I'm really glad you asked that question because every time I get a jury panel in the courtroom, we explain it to them. They always are so amazed. We file close to 2,500, between 2,000 and 2,500 cases every year in our court, which means we need to dispose of that many. We have 6 weeks of jury trial during the year, at which time we can try 3 cases every one of those weeks. That's 18 cases. You do the math. If we did a jury trial on every case, we'd be here just to get rid of this year's cases till well into many centuries ahead of this. So we have to plea bargain cases. That's just the nature of the beast when you've got that many cases. But if you've been doing it a long time, you kind of figure out what cases are worth. You can figure out what a jury would give them if they go to a jury. And so you figure out that's what they're going to get, and I offer them something a little bit better, and that way they plead guilty. We don't have to spend the taxpayer's dollar or the money or the time to try that case. So they get a fair solution. They know that they're guilty. They're going to plead. You get the judgment, you get the conviction, and you don't have to try the case, and you dispose of your cases. It's an art, really. You have to take a lot of things into consideration, and you dispose of the cases. Sometimes you end up putting people in jail because they'd rather not be on probation for 2 years, and they'll say, give me 60 days in jail. Sometimes that's not appropriate. If there's a lot of restitution, if they damage someone, they might want to go to jail, but you actually force them to be on probation so that they can have to pay that person back because as restitution is part of the plea. So it's an art form. It has to move fast. You have to get a lot of cases accomplished, and you have to do it in the most fair way possible. Everyone's not always going to be happy with all of the decisions that you make, but you try to take each case and look at it carefully, quickly, and make a fair and reasoned decision in conference with either the defendant or their attorney if they have an attorney.
Robert, response?
There's 3 main reasons why we have a criminal justice system. Number 1 is to protect the citizens of this community. Number 2 is to punish the guilty. And number 3 is, if we can, to rehabilitate those who commit crimes so that they won't commit crimes again in the future. And my role as your county attorney, first of all, is going to be to protect you, to make sure that those who are endangering our community through the misdemeanors that the county attorney's office prosecute will not be a danger to you in the future, and I will take that responsibility very to heart. It's very important to me. Secondly, we want to make sure that those are punished so that they are held accountable for their actions. And so, as a county attorney, those are the 3 steps that I will be looking at in handling the criminal docket, handling the criminal justice system, but also making sure that we can work through those cases as efficiently as possible to save you, the taxpayer, money from not having to house these people waiting for trial at the county jail and not having to pay court-appointed attorney fees more than is absolutely necessary to get those cases tried and to get the guilty held accountable.
One of your points you just made is a good segue into a follow-up question. And that follow-up question would be based on the fact that about 2 years ago, Commissioners Court appropriated some special funding for the purpose of hiring a special prosecutor. A special prosecutor's role is to help people get out of incarceration and available for their hearings and court dates, etc., without crowding the jail. There's only one reason why we did this. Well, there's really 2. One, that we think that's a fair way to do it, but secondly, we don't like the idea of jail crowding, overcrowding, and we don't like the prospect of having to build an annex to the jail. So one way to not have to build the annex is to have a special prosecutor help pull people down so the sentence stays at a workable level. What's your position on the special prosecutor's role? Rob?
The special prosecutor here is David Cavazos, and Mr. Cavazos has done a fine job of working at our jail with the district attorneys for the 216th Judicial District and the 198th Judicial District in processing those cases through the criminal justice system faster so that those cases are resolved and it costs you, the taxpayers, less money. And as your county attorney, I'm very interested in speaking with Mr. Curry, who's the 216th District Attorney, and Mr. Barton, who represents the 198th Judicial District, to work with them to incorporate some of the misdemeanor offenses that my office prosecutes into that system. But we're not just going to be a plea factory. It is very important, first and foremost, that we protect the citizens and we punish the guilty.